Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I just need your attention. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. This is why I always say reserve your judgment uh, until you've heard and seen everything that they have to um, present, if you will. Um, your boy DELRAY, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Accuser, lawyers for a woman who accused Sean Combs of supplying her with drugs uh, at one of his famous white parties and commanding her to do certain uh, acts, if you will. Yes. Lawyers for a woman who accused Sean Combs of supplying her with drugs at his famous white parties and commanding her to have do certain acts. This is what she was basically talking about, are seeking to withdraw from representing her, writing in court papers that she displayed undermining behavior and questionable antics. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I always say one must reserve the right before judging somebody because we don't know what's going on. So the young lady, she said, you know, Diddy did all of these things. Young lady, Adria English, is basically her lawyer saying, you know what? We don't really want to represent her no more because of her undermining behavior and questionable antics. So, what could she be trying to undermine? Plaintiff Adria English sued Mr. Combs in July, alleging that as an employee who worked at the parties in the Hamptons and Miami in the mid to late 2000s, she had been groomed into being sex trafficked and had been given ecstasy laced liquor. This is what her allegations were at the particular time. The lawsuit is one of a dozen of sexual misconduct lawsuits that have been filed against Mr. Combs over the past year. He is also facing federal criminal case, which we all know about, and which he was indicted in on charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Sean Combs, as we know, has pleaded not guilty. But this is eye-opening because once again, anybody can sue anybody. And we know that anybody can sue anybody based on the fact that um, the lawyers no longer want to represent her. And they would normally state it as irreconcilable differences or whatever, you know, from that perspective. But more importantly, when the lawyer says they don't want to represent you anymore, they have a problem with your story. They have a problem believing what you're saying is true. This young lady also filed a police report some years later, way after the situation in which she said it happened. I don't know if she did that to basically kind of fortify her lawsuit that she was about to file, but in fact, her lawyer said that she has displayed undermining behavior and questionable antics. That's not a good look. And as a matter of fact, any lawyer coming up, because they said that she had went to try to get another lawyer because I guess the lawyers that she had didn't wanting to leave the case. She felt like, you know, they weren't or whatever it was. I'll just call it irreconcilable differences. But the lawyers basically saying, hey, you know what? We want off the case. So what you have to do is you have to go file. Um, it's sort of like a motion with the judge and telling the judge, explaining to the judge why you want off the case, and the judge actually will hear you out and hopefully come to a decision. But I just find this alarming. Like I said, once again, that's why I always say I like to reserve judgment for stuff like this, because you just never know. You don't know what people are doing. You don't know if they're telling the truth, if they're not being honest. Like I said, the lawyer is they're saying basically she was undermining. She was undermining the case or undermining whatever she was doing, and she had questionable antics. So that tells me, without having to read, too much into it, that they didn't believe anything that she was saying from that perspective. Um, uh, in their court filing, lawyers for Miss English, uh, Ariel Mitchell Kidd and Stephen A. McCaff, told a judge in federal court in Manhattan that irreconcilable differences had developed with their client. The same in the marriage. You want to break up from a marriage, usually without stating all of the things that have been going on, you just basically state that there was irreconcilable differences. So in the court filing, basically, Miss English's attorney, Ariel Mitchell Kidd and Stephen A. McCaff, told the judge in federal court in Manhattan that irreconcilable differences had developed with their client as a result of a fundamental disagreement between attorneys and plaintiff regarding almost every aspect of litigation. So that basically says she wasn't agreeing on anything as far as the lawyers and trying to approach and get justice for her for the things that she was alleging that had happened to her. And mind you, this was in the early 2000s when she said these things have happened. Like I said before, the case recently in Texas, talking about 120 defendants. From that perspective, once again, my thing is wait to see what happens. Reserve your judgment for them. Like I said, we don't know. A lot of this stuff is done for media sensation and hype and propaganda and all of those things. What I'm trying to see is what evidence they have in alleging any case against anybody. You know what I mean? That includes anything that I've talked about before, Keefe D. But now we're talking specifically about the young lady, Adria English, and her lawyer saying, you know what? We no longer want any parts of this case or dealing with this client right here. Basically, as a result of a fundamental disagreement between attorneys and plaintiffs regarding almost every aspect of litigation, the filing says, including settlement demands, causes of action in the pleadings, and plaintiffs' undermining behavior and questionable antics and irreconcilable conflict and tension has developed between plaintiffs and attorneys. Amazing. So basically, it ain't going well. Everything from um, settlement demands, basically how much money she wants or feel like she deserves. Um, that can also be a problem, but that's not the only problem. Not only how much money to demand or settlement demands are the causes of action, meaning, what she's alleging that happened, from that perspective, when they, filing the brief and the things that she says that happened, and if they're asking her more things, or they may have telephone conversations, and then they hear her, switch up her story. She might have said something happened one time, but then, not be able to repeat what happened again. And they listen back to that. They say, well, she wouldn't be a good witness. And in fact, her case might wind up messing up the other cases involving that RICO case. Because, like I said, once again, P. Diddy lawyers have also spoken out in regards to the lawyers wanting to get up off of this case, basically saying that this young lady, had filed uh, basically a questionable case against Sean P. Diddy Combs, and that there was no merit in her case and the accusations that she was making against Sean P. Diddy Combs at that particular time. So, with that being said, here we are. Once again, we see somebody's legal team, this young lady's legal team, basically, they bowing out. They say, we don't want no parts of this. Another thing, a lot of people don't understand, there's a lot of ambulance chasing attorneys out there that'll file a lawsuit for anything, trying to shake the tree and see what'll fall out. But in this particular case, these lawyers seem like their reputation is more of something that they appreciate and have earned over the years through law school and things like that. to be involved with anything frivolous. And I'm gonna read it again. As a result of a fundamental disagreement between attorneys and plaintiff regarding almost every aspect of litigation, so they can't come to agreement on anything. The plaintiff and her attorneys. The filing says, which they filed in court, including settlement demands, they can't get her to agree on the causes of actions and the pleadings and the plaintiff's undermining behavior. So she's basically trying to undermine the case, and questionable antics and irreconcilable conflict and tension has developed between the plaintiff and her attorneys. Um, the female attorney, Miss Mitchell Kidd, said in a text message response to questions on Thursdays, uh, she's saying that I never lost faith in her case, just in her. So her lawyer, Miss Mitchell Kidd, basically said that I never lost faith in her case, just in her. Now, that's kind of a conflicting statement, because the case is her. The case is her allegations. The case is what she's saying. The case is what she's alleging. And if you go back over and you look back up at the top, you see once again, the causes of action. The causes of action is her. So, I guess Miss Mitchell didn't really want to let her down too hard. Miss Mitchell said once again in a text message response to questions on Thursday, uh, I never lost faith in her case, just in her. Her case is great, she added. My issue with her was undermining my work and going behind my back doing things incongruent to advancing her case. So they basically saying that she was going behind their back doing stuff, yeah, and all of these other things, undermining the attorney's work, uh, probably being a little bit of a hothead, if you will. That's what it sounds like to me. Um, yeah, so this is basically what's going on. So, like I said, attorney for Audrey English, basically saying that her case was great. My issue was with her undermining my work and going behind my back and doing things incongruent to advancing her case. In a phone interview on Thursday, Miss English, so now she's talking to reporters, uh, who reported her claims to the police in Miami Beach, Florida, after filing her lawsuit, said she was seeking new counsel. She said she had clashed with Miss Mitchell Kidd repeatedly, including over a demand from the lawyer that Miss English not speak to the media. So she's basically saying that she asked the lawyers not to speak to the media, and that Miss Mitchell Kidd went against her demands or her request not to speak to the media. She didn't want her lawyer speaking to the media, and I guess uh, Miss Mitchell Kidd spoke to the media, and the client got mad. So, like I said, that's one thing on one side. On the other side, um, but what I don't think she understands is that, trying to get as much publicity behind the case, and some lawyers do try to get publicity behind the case, as to know that they are attorneys. They're representing people, and then they also obtain other clients that way by somebody seeing them on television. Somebody might come forward and go to them and ask them, hey, you know what? I had a situation. Can you represent me too? So that goes into all in the marketing promotion of being a lawyer. Um, Basically, we already know that. Like I said, it said the young lady, Miss English said, "I'm the client. You work for me." Miss English said to describe her perspective. Now, once again, let's be clear. A lot of these attorneys are taking these cases pro bono. And so I think that would be a problem when you start telling the lawyer, hey, I'm the client, you work for me, Miss English said to describe her perspective. And so you can't tell an attorney not to speak to the media. That's not part of you being their client unless it's explicitly written in the attorney client agreement. And so, yeah, this is interesting, man. So, like I said, one she's currently seeking new attorney, and I don't think any attorney would agree with that. Like I said, you're not going to be able to tell an attorney what to do, right? Like I said, we know P Diddy, he locked up, currently detained in Brooklyn jail. In a statement Wednesday, um, In a statement on Wednesday, his representatives called Miss English claims fabricated. So P. Diddy's lawyer spoke out yesterday, basically calling um, the young lady, Adria English, they're calling her claims fabricated. As we've said from the start, anyone can file a lawsuit without proof. And this case was a clear example of that. The statement said Adria English escalated things by filing a false police reports, and making baseless claims using high profile events as a backdrop to harm innocent people. So basically, they're saying that she's taking, the white parties, the P Diddy situation with Cassie, and all of the other allegations. But like I said, mainly with the Cassie situation, let's be clear. A lot of people are now talking about freak offs. Let's be clear. And we were talking about Adria English and her attorneys not wanting to represent her anymore. They said not based on the case, but based on her and the way things are going. Let's be clear about this. The freak off accusation or word or statement or title came from Cassie's lawsuit. People have taken that and started to run with it. These freak offs and this, that. It came from Cassie. And so anybody who's listening and trying to, take it and run with it, and I believe, like I said, the case they filed in the indictment, the RICO case and all of that, a lot of that is based on Cassie's lawsuit. People who have not done their due diligence and their homework need to look at the case, the RICO case, and then look at Cassie's lawsuit, right? So when you do that, you're going to be like, oh. So then you're going to ask yourself what I asked myself when I saw it, and that was, what do they really have? Because if they're basing it off of Cassie's lawsuit, I can understand where there would be some validity to that. We've seen the tape. The tape was horrible. You know what I mean? Diddy didn't come across at all any kind of way. Like I said, good. And for that, once again, that needs to be dealt with on its own merits, right? From that perspective. And anything else that he can be proven guilty of, like I said, he needs to be dealt with from that perspective. But as you see with this situation here with the young lady, Adria English, P. Diddy's lawyers are basically saying that Miss English's claims were fabricated. As we've said from the start, anyone can file a lawsuit without proof. And this case is a clear example of that. The statement said Adria English escalated things by filing false police reports and making baseless claims using high profile events as a backdrop to harm innocent people. This is my thing. Like I said, once again, I don't know if Adria English is telling the truth or she's lying. I don't know that. Like I said, all I know right now is that her lawyers that were on her case, that were representing her, say now, you know what? Based on the fact of her undermining behavior and her questionable antics and all of the things that's been going on involving this situation, that they do not wish to represent her no more under any circumstances, and have filed a complaint with the court, basically asking that they be removed from the case. That's a very serious thing. When a lawyer says that and they feel that way, because usually the law is the law. You make you state your claims and all of those things. But when a lawyer doesn't want to represent you no more, it's really not, optically, it's not a good look. Mr. Combs' legal team has been defending him against mounting pile of lawsuits since the indictment was brought in September. And lawyers in Texas have said they're preparing suits on behalf of multiple accusers who have reached out to them with accounts of misconduct. Once again, so we just heard recently in regards to the 120 people that the lawyer in Texas basically saying that he represents. Now, nobody can confirm or deny that it's 120 people. This is basically what they're saying. They also have some kind of hotline that people can call and basically said if anything went wrong, they can state their claim also. But more importantly, when you think about that, it's a slippery slope. That's like tantamount to ambulance chasing, if you will. Like, call us up, if you took this bad drug and blah, 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 call us up and we'll represent you. I understand all of that. But what I'm trying to say right now is to do that and to say, oh, we got all of these people. Once again, you're going to have people who really, sometimes mental illness comes into it, and people be like, yeah, it's sometimes people see money and they think that it's going to be an easy money grab, if you will, because of the circumstances. They think that because P Diddy's locked up and so on and so forth. But people must be very careful when you do this, because it can flip on you, and also it can flip on lawyers. And I think once again, this is the reason why Adria English's lawyers is asking to be out of this particular case involving Sean P. Diddy Combs. And I'm gonna read it again. Basically, they're saying that, hey, she was undermining their case. She was undermining the case, and they want to withdraw from her case. So, like I said, more importantly, we'll stay tuned to see how this pans out, and to see how many more people come forward in saying that something happened in that Texas situation. you know, and we'll see what happens in regards to the racketeering lawsuit. Once again, and this is the thing that I also pay attention to. The only person that's been locked up so far is Sean P. Diddy Combs. Like I said, this is a racketeering lawsuit. Not to say that won't nobody else be locked up in regards to that. The same thing with R. Kelly. R. Kelly had a racketeering RICO case against him. I think his was in the Eastern District of New York for that one case, and also in Chicago. But Sean P. Diddy Combs is in the Southern District of New York. His case has been filed. So now, the only person that went to jail in R. Kelly case was R. Kelly. The only person that's been locked up in this Sean P. Diddy Combs case is him. And so it's going to be interesting to see if anybody else is going to be arrested. And I think some of the people who might be arrested or could have been arrested, I think they're going to, if the pressure's too much for them to handle, they will be definitely taking some kind of cooperation agreement with the government. That's the only thing that I can see. But once again, the people that they need to bring forward in this case are the people that they consider to be victims. This situation involving Adria English is a totally different situation from the situation that Sean P. Diddy Combs is facing right now in the federal situation that he's in, the federal case in New York right now. So this was totally different. But more importantly, what we need to see is, okay, some of the victims and people coming out and for what they allege that Sean P. Diddy Combs is guilty of. And so, like I said, more importantly, reserve your right to judge before we know everything, all of the evidence. That's how I like to do it. You can feel free to do it your way. You can feel free to say, hey, he did it, he's guilty, it's all of this and all of that. Like I said, we've seen the Cassie tape. We understand the Cassie situation. And as of now, that is the only situation other than the situation that Sean P. Diddy Combs has signed NDAs for, involving his chef, I believe a few other people that said that he assaulted them. He paid them off, and they signed non-disclosure agreements. All of those situations stand as what they are. Like I said, that he paid them off, and because of whatever happened, as we seen the situation with Cassie and that tape, we seen what he can be and who he can be on side of what we thought he was. Mr. Brother Love and all of that stuff. I don't think that really is a formidable name that he can use at this particular point. But like I said, nobody's past redemption. We all have problems that we face, and this is his problems, and he must face them head on, no matter what. My opinion of what he did, if he's guilty or not, doesn't really matter. When he goes to court, they're gonna present evidence, and he's gonna have to fight it like anybody else fighting. But right now, one of the accusers, young lady by the name of Adria English, lawyers basically want to withdraw from her case. Basically, they're saying that, hey, you know what? It's just not working out. And not that they don't believe in her case, but they just don't believe in her. And so, like I said, which is conflicting in itself. More importantly, I think that they don't believe in her and the consistency of what she said that happened from that particular point. And they're saying, hey, you know what? We want to wash our hands with this. So we'll wait and see what happens, man. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.